Hi, I'm Mike, the two-lane traveler, bringing you another road tripping video. One of my favorite things to do when I'm on a road trip is to track down roadside giants, mostly human-style statues that stand along our roadways across the country, but sometimes other things as well. Everyone has seen them: big boy restaurant statues, the A&W Burger Family statues that still can be sometimes found in front of their restaurants, Paul Bunyan and his Blue Ox Babe, statues of Uncle Sam, and of course, Muffler Men. What's that, you say? You've never heard of Muffler Men? You may have actually seen some without knowing it. Muffler Man is a nickname given to hundreds of 14 to 25 foot tall fiberglass giants that were built between 1962 and the early 1970s. The guys at RoadsideAmerica.com coined the term long before their website came into existence in the 1990s. Many that they had discovered were holding mufflers as advertising for a national muffler chain, hence the nickname. It turns out that the very first ones didn't hold mufflers at all. They held axes and looked a lot like Paul Bunyan. The history of Muffler Men has been researched and reported many times, so I won't repeat it here. I'll just quickly say that Prewitt Fiberglass designed and created the first lumberjack Muffler Man around 1962. The company was sold to International Fiberglass in 1963, and they spent the next decade producing all of their fiberglass giant variants of Muffler Men. Other people have begun restoring and even creating new Muffler Men, and I'll tell you about them as well. If you're interested, I'd suggest checking out Joel Baker's American Giants website. Joel is the preeminent expert on all things Muffler Man. Also check out Deborah Jane Seltzer's Roadside Architecture website and Roadside America's website, which also includes an excellent Muffler Man map. I'll include links in the comments section below. I'll also include a link to my map, which shows some things that aren't detailed on the Roadside America Muffler Man map. The American Giant Museum on Route 66 in Atlanta, Illinois is also a worthwhile place to see several Muffler Men up close and learn more about them. Not everyone agrees on which giants get included in the category of Muffler Men, so in this video I'll just share examples of the ones I consider to be part of that group. The first Muffler Man I saw was the Gemini Giant in 2007 when I took my first end-to-end road trip on Route 66. I didn't know what he was, but he sure was attention-getting, so I stopped and took photos. The Gemini Giant lives in Wilmington, Illinois, and it turns out that he's the most famous Muffler Man of all. He's lived on Route 66 here for 50-plus years, and he is one of 3 astronaut-style Muffler Men ever created, and the only one still in existence. He was recently sold at auction for about $275,000, which is many times more than any other Muffler Man has ever been sold for. He's currently being restored and will be returned to his new home in Wilmington sometime in 2025. But as I said earlier, the first Muffler Man ever created was a Paul Bunyan-looking lumberjack who stood in front of the Lumberjack restaurant in Flagstaff, Arizona. A matching lumberjack was later purchased by the same restaurant, and they stood together for several years. Both were donated to Northern Arizona University in 1973, where they can still be seen today on the grounds of the football stadium at the university. About 70 of these Bunyans still dot the landscape around America, and another few are in storage in various places. Some of these Bunyans were a smaller 14-foot version as well. The other major category of muffler men actually advertised mufflers, among other things. They were clean-shaven giants with different clothing than the Bunyans. Besides mufflers, they could be seen selling hamburgers, Phillips 66 gasoline, and almost anything else. There are about 75 of these guys still around, with a few of them in Canada and Mexico. The third largest category of original muffler men are the Indian chiefs and Indian braves. They look somewhat different, but share many body parts with muffler men. There are at least 31 of these still around. Alfred E. Newman-style head and straw hat, Mortimer Snerd shares all of his body parts with the more traditional muffler men. He's pretty rare, with as few as 10 out in public, though I've heard of another one that may be in storage. The only female muffler man is known as the Uniroyal Gal, although she was listed in the International Fiberglass catalog as Miss America. Many of the original ones stood in front of Uniroyal tire stores, and some still do. Everyone seems to think she's a former First Lady Jackie Kennedy look-alike. The Uniroyal Gals are pretty rare too, with about 17 or so still existing. The next category is the Vikings. Originally made for a carpet store chain, they were sold to other customers too. Only 10 of these exist. 6 of them can be found at schools as mascots, and one will soon be added to the collection at the American Giants Museum. Next comes the ultra-rare Texaco Big Friend. At one time, there were 300 of these, and Texaco planned on 2,700 more. Plans changed, however, and they ordered all 300 to be destroyed. 6 managed to survive. Only one is restored to its original style and is publicly accessible. It's standing at the American Giants Museum in Atlanta, Illinois. A second one is hidden away on private property. One more will soon be standing at Driven Towing in Hot Springs National Park, Arkansas. 2 others are highly modified and unrecognizable. The last one is being restored to original, but its final destination is unclear. The last International Fiberglass built Muffler Men that I include are the Wagon Ho Pioneer statues. The seated pioneers were originally created by International Fiberglass for the Wagon Ho chain of restaurants, and were also sold through their catalogs. The standing versions of the Wagon Ho Pioneers may or may not have been made by International Fiberglass. The upper bodies and heads were made from the same mold or a copy of the mold, but it's unclear where the legs were molded. There are 6 or 7 seated pioneers still around and 6 of the standing pioneers. There's a handful of others that International Fiberglass modified from original Muffler Men, like the Gemini Giant I talked about earlier. A Frankenstein is another one. A couple of pirates, Chicken Boy, and a couple of mannequins that were either Muffler Men prototypes or sold out of the catalog. There are about 6 or 8 I am aware of, but there could be more, since they don't necessarily look like Muffler Men anymore. So with the same previous caveat about the standing pioneer, all of the fiberglass statues I described were made by the International Fiberglass Company. However, there are lots of other Muffler Men in existence today, with more being created all the time. Mark Klein, whose Enchanted Castle Studios is in Natural Bridge, Virginia, is the most prolific of the modern Muffler Man creators. Some of his projects are exact replicas of original Muffler Men, and others are modified per a customer's request. He's built more than 20, with several more projects underway. There have been other Muffler Men creators as well. Bell Plastics in Hayward, California created a handful of Muffler Men, and they have a collection of originals at their shop in Hayward, California. Glenn Good of Gainesville, Texas created a few Muffler Men prior to his death in 2015. Hubert Graham has created a few Uniroyal Gals and one Bunyan that stand on his property in Bolton, North Carolina. Even actor Dennis Hopper commissioned 2 Muffler Men to be made. An artist modified a real Muffler Man for him, and another one used a real Muffler Man to create a mold for a brand new one. There's even a Texaco Big Friend in Springfield, Utah that has an original head and hands, but the rest of him was created by a 3D printer. I don't know who made him, but I've seen the result in person. Kind of mind-boggling. Just to close the loop, Giant in Southern Illinois specializes in restoring Muffler Men. They've restored more than anyone else, including some real basket cases. They also transport and stand the Giants up. Mark Klein and Bell Plastics also do restoration work. There are lots of other roadside giants on my radar to photograph or that I have already photographed. There are 9 original Big John statues and 2 that have been created by Mark Klein. The only one I haven't seen is Mark's newest one at Motorhead's in Springfield, Illinois. I'll catch him on an upcoming trip. Lots of others can be found in every state of the Union. Just keep your eyes peeled and your camera ready. Thanks for watching.